Okay, thank you guys very much. If anyone else comes, we'll let them in as we go. I would like to thank you all for joining us for our new webinar, Why Cayman is Building the World's Next BlueTech Centre of Excellence. I am Adrian Divenage. I'm Marketing Manager at Cayman Enterprise City. I will be moderating today, so hopefully we don't have to listen to my voice an awful lot, as we do have a couple of experts in the field to help guide the conversation today. We are going to aim to keep it very conversational, very light. If the Q&A function should be available, if any questions do pop up during the proceedings, please do feel free to shoot those through. We'll see how many we can get through in the end. Did have a couple of pre-submitted questions as well that we'll try and cover. And as I mentioned before as well, if we don't get to any questions, please do feel free. The contact details will be made available. Get in touch with us or with Brian or Gabriella, and we're more than happy to help where needed. Just to set a bit of base, today's conversation on BlueTech is very exploratory, intentionally so. It's set up to be a practical conversation about how Cayman, or what's happening in Cayman, and the foundations that matter most for BlueTech growth. I'm joined today by Brian Conan. He's the VP of Underwater Mapping at Saildrone. We're also joined by Gabriela Corbera. She is the CEO and co-founder of Lunar Maps. And then as well, we are joined by Isabel Ford, who is the head of global mobility here at Cayman Enterprise City. We are going to be discussing a couple of topics today about why Cayman and why Cayman now, BlueTech in practice and the real world application and thereof. Also building a BlueTech ecosystem, which Gabriella is going to give us the lowdown on, and then also ended off with open discussion and some key takeaways. We thought it would be good just before we start and we throw over to Izzy that Gabriella and Brian, if you want to chip in as well, just quickly set the tone and give us a bit of background about BlueTech, as not everyone might be up to date with what that is. So Gabriella, if you want to lead us off, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Adrian, and welcome to all our participants and also continuous founders and members of CEC. So basically, as Adrian pointed out, CEC is about to build the new flagship BlueTech Centre of Excellence on Cayman Islands. And the center is going to be a premier hub for ocean intelligence, along with smart coastal infrastructure and a variety of new innovations and marine technologies. And the reason it's being built is because Cayman Islands has already had a premier history, inviting world-class companies in blockchain, in high-tech industries like crypto, along with also other industries, and has really proven to be a top nation that has incredible public-private dialogue to build new high-tech clusters. And the blue economy is really inspired by the sea, by the innovations that can be better managed and kind of held at sea. So redesigning port management systems, inviting marine robotics to solve new challenges on the islands. And I think what we're most excited about at CEC is the opportunities it will have to also build a new local economy and create new workforce pipelines. But I'll pass it over to Brian, who might have another overview as well of how exciting this marketplace is and what kind of solutions it can offer.
Right. Thanks, Gabriella. So one, thank you to the organizers here for inviting me to be part of this webinar. We've spent the last year or so in the Cayman Islands mapping the exclusive economic zone with our uncrewed system, and I really think that's a key starting point for any blue economy. And from that, the blue tech that's going to support it is to kind of get that baseline knowledge of what is under the water and then you can start building from there. And so, as I look at the Cayman Islands and the future of BlueTech, I see the ability to, as Gabriella mentioned, build those pipelines. And so it really comes down to the people. And how do you train a workforce that has the skills that's going to attract these blue tech companies to come in, establish a footprint in the Cayman Islands? So, the special economic zone, having local involvement from colleges and universities and all the way down into high schools of really embracing the maritime environment as the future of the islands, I think was really what I see as the potential, and is very exciting for me to watch. And I'm glad I was on the ground floor as it was to see this take off.
Thank you very much, Gabriel and Bra, for your input. I'll then throw over to Izzy, who can just lay some groundwork on and give us a quick overview about why Cayman is increasingly being considered by innovation-led companies, and how CEC supports the journey in practice.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks, Adrian, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be a part of today's conversation, and thank you all very much for joining us. Yeah, that I'll probably try and break that question up into two parts. The first half of it, I get that question quite a lot. I think people see some of the biggest projects setting up here on our island, and their question is always why. Like, what do these people know that they don't? In my opinion, and I guess in the feedback that I get from many of our zone members, is that it's really a mix of items that together make Cayman really great and appealing for innovation-led companies. So first of all, there's our location. We're just an hour's flight from Miami with direct flights to, many other major US as well as Canadian and UK cities. Being English speaking and on Eastern Standard Time also makes life a lot easier for tech entrepreneurs who are, oftentimes coordinating across, multiple different time zones. Secondly, I would say that Cayman has a very forward-looking regulatory environment, particularly as Gabriella kind of touched on, fintech, blockchain, but also just any sort of emerging technology. And they do so by creating specialized, flexible and compliant legislation rather than trying to shoehorn new technologies into kind of outdated rules, which is quite attractive to those evaluating the island as a jurisdiction. I think Cayman's maritime identity is also embedded in how this jurisdiction thinks, being practical, being disciplined, globally connected, and accustomed to operating across borders. Cayman's kind of vibrant maritime heritage as well, paired with its role as a global financial center, has produced something unique, which is, an outward-looking, high-trust environment with the institutional maturity there to support global operators. And then finally, on that kind of half of the question, I would say that, and perhaps most importantly, is the professional ecosystem that Cayman offers. We have everything from the big four accounting firms to the international law firms, experienced directors. That's the kind of support that companies really value when they're looking to grow offshore. And then I guess to move on to the second part of your question, and to also kind of segue and include Cayman Enterprise City in these types of, high quality service providers, if I do say so myself. But, we are an award-winning special economic zone, and what makes us different is that we offer businesses a set of fully transparent benefits and concessions, which are all grounded in a very strong legislative framework. That framework includes the Special Economic Zones Act and the Immigration Act, and all of their lovely associated regulations. So I say all of this because these statutory benefits, really help cut through the bureaucracy and reduce much of the time and cost and the hassle that usually comes with setting up a genuine physical presence in a jurisdiction. And then on the practical side, how that kind of all translates into reality is that CEC makes it as easy as possible for companies to come and establish themselves and their offshore presence here in Grand Cayman. We take care of all of the business licensing, the employee work permits, and we also offer the turnkey office solutions. So, companies can get set up quickly and efficiently with everything that they need to start operating right away.
Thank you very much, Izzy. You mentioned the practicality of it, and I think if we want to talk about the practicality of all of this, it'll be good to bring in Brian. Brian Saildrone has done some very tangible work in Cayman waters. Could you talk us through what that project involved, why Cayman was important to it, and what impact it's already had?
Yes, thank you. So this project was funded philanthropically by the Curtin and Oak Foundations, and there was a desire to give something back to the Cayman Islands to provide a baseline to support marine economy around the islands. And so that's really, kind of how this kicked off. And what that allowed us to do as a small company was to build our prototype USV, uncrewed surface vehicle, to do ocean mapping. And the success of that prototype led to the production vehicle that you see on the screen here that we brought down to the Caymans to do mapping. So this is what the Surveyor looks like. So this is not a little vehicle. It's 20 meters long. The wing stands up 13 meters above the ocean. It has off-the-shelf what we call multi-beam sonars for mapping the ocean bottom. And it basically does everything that a traditional survey ship would do, except we're harnessing the wind to provide the primary propulsion. We use a lot of solar power to help us charge our batteries to run the sensors. Now we do have an engine and a ability to charge the batteries on board and a propeller, so we can use that, but generally we like to sail, which makes this also a very low carbon footprint platform to operate in the pristine waters around the Cayman Islands. So we came right out of a shipyard in Mobile, Alabama, and came down to the Caymans, and I will say we had some challenges along the way. Certainly hurricanes were fun to avoid, and we also had some serious sargassum or seaweed that would happen this past year that we had to deal with. But all in all, we learned a lot, and we're providing great data to support a lot of things happening there. So if you go to the next slide, just another quick picture of what it looks like. And on the bottom there, that on the keel, that gondola you see has the sonars in it. So that sends out sound waves that map the ocean bottom, and then we process all that information and go to the next slide and turn it into a map like this. So the blank areas you kind of see to the bottom center in the center, those were already really well mapped, so we did not need to repeat that. And then the blank areas up at the top of the EZ, we were asked not to go in there as those are disputed areas with other nations regarding exclusive economic zone. But you can see some of the high resolution data that we're collecting with this vehicle around the fishing banks and down in the trench. Really an exciting project for us because we were mapping from 10 to 20 meters depth all the way down to 7,000 meters. So a very dynamic and beautiful bottom around the Cayman Islands. So this is just I think if you could do a click, that's a video. But so this vehicle, we've finished up, all that data has been provided to the United Kingdom Hydrographic Office. And so they will be doing the post-processing of that information, using that to update charts. So all the nautical charts for the Cayman Islands will have modern data. We paired our data with an airborne LiDAR bathymetry, laser bathymetry survey that was done a couple of years ago. So really, this has the Cayman Islands as one of the few nations in the world that has actually mapped their entire EEZ. In the US, we've only mapped 56% of our EEZ. So this is really exciting, and I think it really stands as an example for other small island states to do similar work. And so So why not use a traditional survey ship? Well, one, they're expensive. They burn a lot of fuel. There aren't that many of them. And it takes a lot of crew. For us, we had a team come in. They would fly into the Caymans, they would service the vehicle, escort it out to sea, and then that team would leave. And then the vehicle would stay at sea for 30 to 45 days doing mapping, and then come back in, and that team would come back and service it again. We had a great experience working with the Cayman government, the Land and Survey Department, working with the port. It's not a big port in Georgetown, and so we had to quickly come in and service because at night a lot of the commercial shipping was coming in and offloading. We had to get in between cruise ships. So really a lot of great coordination with everyone associated with the Cayman government and the Port Authority there. We also worked with the Port State Control Officer of the Cayman Islands, and his concern was, what do you mean you're bringing this large unmanned system into our waters and it's going to operate autonomously, and how does that even work? And so we went through a process with him of showing how safe this vehicle is and how we can operate and not have collisions and display the proper navigation lighting, and that we have radar and we have AIS, we have Starlink to move data on and off. So really it was useful for him because he's part of the International Maritime Organization working groups on these uncrewed system operations. And so we were able to understand from his point of view what a Port State Control Officer might be interested in inspecting our vehicles, not just in the Caymans, but other places around the world. So all in all, for us, this was a fantastic opportunity to, one, collect some pristine data that's going to be useful for so many things there in the Cayman Islands, and two, learn how this vehicle operates and what regulatory things we might have to deal with, not just in the Caymans, but other places.
Thank you very much, Brian. That was thoroughly enjoyable. Thank you for sharing. At this moment then, Gabriella, you spend a lot of time looking at how innovation ecosystems form globally. From your perspective, what really matters when building something durable in BlueTech?
Thank you for the question, Adrian, and thank you, Brian, for providing the initial building blocks for the BlueTech cluster and ecosystem of Cayman. The ocean mapping is critical. So, Adrian, in terms of how global clusters evolve and really rest first on a locally grounded ecosystem, what we see at LunaMaps in global ecosystems is that local clusters need to have bespoke leadership. They need to have exportable IP, and they need to have clear roles and responsibilities with really foundational investor communities and capital infrastructure, along with kind of cross-sectoral dialogue. So I'd love to share with you all kind of what we see at LunaMaps as the building blocks for this new BlueTech ecosystem in Cayman Islands. So this slide here kind of captures for us at LunaMaps what we will see as the building blocks, and that we will be rolling out with CEC. So just like all innovation districts or all new economic development zones, there has to be a moonshot. So a moonshot is this common vision or aligned moonshot that brings the entire island together or entire public-private sector together. And so for us, we're kind of seeing that if you create a moonshot that has both market value, but also a purpose for good, such as building a workforce talent pool, creating new jobs, engaging local universities, high schools, as Brian pointed out, you start having a collective vision around economic development. And that is something that Charlie at Cayman Enterprise City has done across the board in all of the special economic zones. The second is the international BlueTech benchmarking. So it's important to always look at best practices And in ecosystems around BlueTech, we believe that looking at the solutions of Cape Cod, of San Diego, of Rotterdam, Amsterdam, along with other parts of the world, might be really key in building out those kind of fundamentals. And Luna Maps has strong relationships with the Netherlands and here in New England, where we've had the opportunity to kind of have a balcony view and even engagement with the ecosystem leaders themselves who have built the soft landing pads, have built the foreign talent pull based on similar metrics that Izzy pointed out, which is high trust ecosystems with very established um, enterprises and kind of exportable IP coming out of those entities. The third is national targets. Again, I think this is something that Cayman Enterprise City does really well, is kind of working with local government to have a continuous dialogue as new technologies come onto the islands. So when you set good targets, you create continuity for what is a roadmap for new economic development. And those national targets usually come from the government itself, but it's very important that the private sector is deeply engaged in setting those targets because they are so responsible for bringing the foreign direct investment and bringing the talent pool. So Cayman is such a special island because it has that great public-private dialogue and and it's a high trust environment for innovation. The fourth I would say is clear roles and responsibilities. And this is something at Luna Maps that we do very well. So at Luna Maps, we offer instruments that are these interactive maps and atlases, and they allow an ecosystem to be visualized by market segmentation and clear role and responsibilities. It's a B2B, B2G business model, but the map allows any investor or any government to understand, is this player a startup? Is this a venture capital firm? Is this a research institute or think tank? And that allows very clear roles and responsibilities, again, for the continuity of building out and executing on a roadmap. The other building block I would say is ecosystem development. And Caitlin from CEC, who I know is on this call, is a champion at this, which is building out the kind of informal events that bring the communities together. And this is where you start seeing the rise of new talent, of investors who want to also maybe diversify their venture capital portfolio with a new vertical like BlueTech, and also just new scientists, new research hubs or think tanks. So this is a really this what I would say, Adrian, is the key to any high tech cluster is having a strong ecosystem that has high trust and really works kind of cross sectorally. And then, of course, kind of, I think the elephant of all high-tech clusters, as you saw from Saildrone, some of the infrastructure to carry out these technologies require a lot of capital. So the clusters need to have investor readiness, and there needs to be new groups formed in blue finance, such as the development of blue angels, like in New England at Seahead, and venture capital forums. So venture capitalists can have some understanding about the new startups and new companies coming into the ecosystem. And then the last one is also inspired by a question we got from the audience or participants, which is subsector integration. So Cayman Islands is not a new island. It has already delivered exceptionally on several high-tech verticals. So in the new Center for Excellence, a goal is going to be to kind of integrate some of the new industry of blue tech into the existing ecosystem of economic development. So it's going to be a very exciting one because this is where the new kind of roles and workforce talent generates from very good dialogue. And I'll just leave you on with the building blocks with the STAR model of MIT. So for anyone who's been to Kendall Square, it's the um, biggest square mile of innovation in the world. And it's run by this model developed by Fiona Murray, among others, that kind of shares a key model of how stakeholders should really work together across enterprise, academia, risk capital, corporate venturing, and government. So I think something I really want to share with our community and our founders or investors on the call is also just the magnitude of the blue economy. So I'm sure we can all agree that the blue economy is is a broader hub for all the maritime industries, including even seafood and the fisheries management system. But blue tech is a slice of this blue economy. And this is the results that happen from building blue tech clusters. And again, it's a slice of the blue economy, but in Rhode Island, it's worth 5 to 5.2 billion, as reported by URI in 2020. It's built over 36,000 jobs, 36.5 jobs in Rhode Island. In the US as a whole, it's worth over 511 billion, both in goods and services, and it generates sales of 827 billion. And these are reported every year from the National Office for Coastal Management. And then in the Netherlands, I think one of my favorite nations that really champions this, it's led to over 25.8 billion euros. And it really has been designed and built so naturally from the values of the Netherlands, just being kind of built around a canal water system. And yeah, I'll just kind of wrap up with this, Adrian, which I think goes to your question as well, is blue tech clusters really need to look at best practices. And the way you honor that longevity is kind of retrofitting what has been done in blue tech coastal cities, but with the local leadership and the local regulatory body, as Izzy pointed out. But it's good to be inspired and create good partnerships with these cities. So at Luna Maps, we have this concept of sister cities, and it's this idea that you build a strong relationship with another municipality based off collectively building a strong ecosystem. So uh, in Newport, Rhode Island, one of the leading blue tech hubs here in the East Coast, and they have developed phenomenal soft landing pad programs, initial webinars just like this one, and even demo days for new entrepreneurs. And I've had the pleasure of meeting Molly, Erin, and even the developer who built the co-work space in Newport that's really championing all of this innovation. We have also flagship programs like See Ahead, one of the world's leading blue tech accelerators that is responsible for the Blue Angels and kind of the capital infrastructure and capital bodies that finance these ecosystems. And then here, just in the middle, if you see, there's a autonomous fleet. And this is actually one I got to see live in Amsterdam a few years ago with one of my other firms. And, the testing for this was done in Cambridge at a pool. But going to Izzy's point, the place that was actually best fit to bring this to market was the Netherlands. So today, Rowboat stands as a independent company and is creating remarkable port management innovations and autonomous systems on coastal waters. And it goes back to the point of how important it is to have that high trust, data-driven leadership, and also safety. So I'll hand it over back to you, Adrian.
Thank you very much, Gabriella. We really appreciate that. We're going to be moving over to more of an open discussion at the moment. I have a couple of prompts. I think I'll start over with Brian. Could you maybe take us through, like, from a operator's perspective, what of the ecosystem gaps matter most, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think from an operator perspective, the gaps are really kind of, to me, are identifying what areas are best suited to expand or grow within a blue tech economy, right? So, what can the Caymans best do to provide a good environment for a blue tech company? And is it location, location, location? In expanding into the Caribbean, certainly that is a great one. If it is, primarily offshore type things, is there a good enough infrastructure in place for handling of boats and uncrewed systems and other things coming into the Cayman Islands? All the points that Izzy made in her talk about easy access from the States, from the UK, and other places. I've been down there. Obviously, they're great hotels. There's good infrastructure. There are a lot of things that are already just in place to do that. So I think from a gap standpoint is really, looking to say what areas do we want to encourage to come in. And so let's take an example of, let's say the government uses our data and decides to create a marine protected area, which is great, protect the ocean. But the hardest part of a marine protected area is actually monitoring and enforcement. And that's where companies like Saildrone could come in and be monitoring on the water with our systems. Other companies could be monitoring from the air. There would need to be a response capability to be able to go out if there's illegal fishing or illegal diving, or if there's an environmental incident within an MPA. And so as you start kind of looking at, what decisions get made, that will drive what blue tech industry needs to provide to support that. One of the big things when we were talking with the government there about the use of our data, certainly the safety of navigation was a great one, but really, things like, could this data support a subsea cable route into the Cayman Islands? Yes, it absolutely could. Could this support additional fishing areas? Could this support aquaculture? And then, so there are so many kind of blue economy, blue activities that can be supported now. It's really just deciding which of those are going to give it the highest return, and which ones have the most chance of success, and then really start focusing in on what infrastructure, what workforce, what investment is needed to make that happen.
Thank you very much, Brian. Izzy, I think I'll throw it over to you then. That gave us a very good background of different gaps in the sector. My question to you is, where does CEC realistically add value without overreaching?
Yeah, I mean, we'd find it hard stretch to overreach. We're not the experts like Brian and Gabriella, but I think where CEC can really add value, and we are, is in creating the right environment for science and technology focused companies to set up and thrive within. We've had a dedicated carve out for science and technology companies since the very beginning. The Special Economic Zone was established by Parliament at the end of 2011, with Cayman Enterprise City officially launching in early 2012. So that means that, we've had over a decade to build a well-established, credible framework for companies in, natural sciences, med tech, green tech, blue tech. So the science and technology park, as we refer to the different kind of zones within our special economic zone, provides a clear home for companies whose main activities include, things like research and experimental development or advanced scientific and technical services. I'm really testing the knowledge of my scope of this park right now. But yeah, any kind of, engineering or, manufacturing of specialized equipment for environmental technology and so on. So I think our role is really about more so structuring the ecosystem and providing that kind of clarity and reliability, and making sure that these businesses have the right framework, have the right network, and have the, you know, the right kind of space to focus on then what they do best.
Thanks, Edie. And then, Gabrielle, I'll ask you, as you definitely have the expertise on the subject, is that how do ecosystems avoid trying to do all of this, everything at once?
Thanks, Adrian. And it goes back to what Izzy was saying, is that CEC can promise and deliver certain amenities based on the bespoke elements of the environment and the SECs. I think when you're building a new center for excellence or a new economic zone, the best thing is to under-promise and over-deliver. So BlueTech as a product space has a variety of verticals, but what Cayman Islands can do to ensure exceptional innovation, drive new foreign direct investment and new talent is just choose 2-3 verticals, create an audit around those 3 verticals on the island, and ensure that CEC can deliver to carrying out pilots, capital infrastructure on those 3. It's especially for a smaller island, right? When we saw the statistics of the blue economy of the US, of the Netherlands, you're looking at much larger populations. So you have to kind of retrofit it. And I think it's the best way to also build global trust, is kind of to just choose a few sectors, know the market very well, know the needs for building facilities, and welcoming the new talent with kind of those premier offerings.
Thank you very much. We're going to go over to some of the pre-submitted questions now. I see we are running out of time a little bit. We only have 5 minutes left. So if there is any of the pre-submitted questions that any one of you want to field, please feel free to stick up a hand and take it away. Well, I do also see we luckily we have covered quite a lot of them in the discussion. So one that I quickly, Gabriella, while you're on, is what you might be able to elaborate a little bit. Why is cross-jurisdictional collaboration critical for BlueTech, and what models should Cayman follow?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So cross-jurisdiction collaboration is really critical for BlueTech because it goes back to kind of the theme of the webinar, which is this cross-sector dialogue and building really great trust. So a great example is Amsterdam that Cayman can kind of learn from. So the city of Amsterdam has an institute called AMS Institute that's bridged with TU Delft, which is the premier university for science and engineering in the Netherlands. And so a lot of the new technologies you see solving challenges on in Amsterdam itself come from this triage model of academia from the Institute, TU Delft, and then private sector. And there are even spin-offs coming from those institutes. So what you see there is lots of stakeholders coming together, but honoring that moonshot. So it's as a new economic zone kind of moves forward, all the other stakeholders should as well. And I think that's why it's so important to make this an engaging and a really exciting new innovation zone and new initiative. And the also like problem solving piece, right, is apart from high tech innovation, you want something that islanders also can kind of relate to, right? So there's a lot of spin-offs at AMS Institute, also on citizen science labs where citizens can come in. So it has that holistic model, and I think Cayman's so capable of replicating it.
Thank you very much, Gabriella. Brian, is there anything else you would like to address before we sign off?
No, I think I'm good. And for any other questions, happy to answer this.
Thank you very much, Brian. Izzy, thank you also very much for joining us. And Gabriella, we really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for logging on. I do want to reiterate again that the recording will be made available later. And we'll also share Izzy, Gabriella, and Brian's details as well. So please, if there's any other additional follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out, and we're more than happy to take any one of those. So thank you very much for everyone involved. Really appreciated this, and I definitely learned something today. So I hope everyone did. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Thank you, Brian.